Welcome to SDH's coverage of the NPSL Southeast Conference. We'll take you backward and then we'll take you forward, catch up with some of the principals and some of the coaches, and get you ready for the matchups coming up this weekend. What happened in the previous match week? Well, that's what we're here to tell you about. Match week 2 had matches on Saturday and Sunday. Apotheos FC continues their roll through the early part of the season, beating Charlottetown Hops in week 1 by the score of 3-1. Beating App FC at Ted Mackerel by the score of 4-1. 4 different goal scorers for Apotheos. We'll catch up with head coach Dale Parker of App FC coming up in just a little bit. Big day at Ortho Carolina. Charlottetown Hops had their first home match in club history. Turned out well. Charlottetown knocks off 865 Alliance, and that one gives Charlottetown a balance after what happened to them in week 1, losing to Apotheos 3-1. You beat 865 Alliance 3-1. We'll catch up with co-founder Casey Carr of Charlottetown Hops and Michael Meyer, head coach of 865 Alliance, coming up in just a little bit. The third match on weekend was on Sunday, Storm and Revs, and that is our match of the week. Storm and Revs once again at the University of West Georgia, this time a back-and-forth affair. Here's your highlights, courtesy of our friends at the Georgia Storm 11 Sports, Jessica Charman on the call.
Chisholm, 1v1, cuts back to that left, whips it, a ball headed in! It's a good-looking cross from Craig Chisholm, and the finish from Aaron Witten has the Revolution with the 1-0 lead straight out of the break. It's a flying header from Aaron Witten, commits all the way, beats the goalkeeper to it, and earns his side the lead. Good looking delivery, headed in! It's a goal! Straight from the corner! Storm will celebrate. It's a brilliant delivery, and Andrew Elkins with the bullet of a header. Shows the heart to the camera. Andrew Elkins scores his first goal of the season, and the Storm Chasers release the blue flare that you'll see. Clears it up, but it's easily controlled. Straight back down his throat is Guest. Guest into the 18. Oh no! The minute that White went to ground, you knew there was only going to be one decision from the referee. White commits on the ground. We'll get another look to check how much contact there was, but the referee is not the most popular man in the University of West Georgia right now. A dubious red card, and now a penalty moments after the Storm equalize. Big opportunity from Ethan Harrison from 12 yards out. Justin Guest stands over it with his right boot. Georgia Storm conceded a penalty in their last game. See Harrison doing the best he can along with the Storm Chasers to distract the penalty kick taker. Guest into the net. Keeper Guest is right. Too much power on the strike from the spot by Justin Guest, and in a matter of seconds the Revolution regain their lead. 2-1 your scoreline here. Christ ahead to the corner flag for the Revolution. We have now crossed those 5 minutes of stoppage time, now over, and the referee blows for full time. In the battle between these two neighbors, it is the away side, the Georgia Revolution, that come up victorious. 2-1 the scoreline. Georgia Storm battled and faced adversity, trailing with a man down for 30-plus minutes of action. It was an early goal in the second half for the Revolution that pulled them ahead. An equalizer off of the set piece from Andrew Elkins after a second yellow forced Mauro Gutierrez off of the field. but it was the Revolution with the penalty kick goal from Justin Guest to take the lead. 2-1, the final score from the University of West Georgia.
So the Revs end up with full points, 2-1. That sets up your look at the standings and how things are right now in the Southeast Conference after 2 match weeks. And in the South, once again, reminder, just 6 teams in the Southeast Conference. Apotheos, only team to have won both of their matchups. They have 6 points, 3 points each for Charlottetown, the Revs, and 865 Alliance. Storm and App FC are the only 2 that have not won a match in their first 2, each with a loss and a draw. They are each at 1 point. So let's catch up with some of the particulars and find out what happened through the lens of the teams here in the Southeast Conference. First off, as we mentioned, match of the week was Storm and Revs. Here's our conversation with head coach Jack Marchant. You've had a couple days to kind of look back at the big win. What kind of sticks through your mind after kind of getting a chance to sit back a little bit?
It's certainly the result we needed. Really happy, really happy with the response from the guys. You know, a week's a long time in the summer, and again, it was another week spent together, which is the most important thing, and I think that showed on Sunday. The chemistry starting to come together. Again, it's kind of nice to get the season rolling with a win, and especially to get one on the road, because we know, having lost the opportunity at home last week, it's nice to be able to kind of replace that with a win and get ready to kick on for next week back in McDonough.
And at the same time, you get one where combinations work. You get the first goal on the board. Then you get another situation where you're pressing forward. You get a PK. So it's coming from a bunch of different ways, but it's that offensive output that I know you were looking for early in the season that got you the 2 goals.
Yeah, and it's what we discussed at halftime. I think they had a couple of chances that came from kind of our lack of quality, so to speak. And when we got in the final third, we lacked that quality to create real chances. And that's what we talked about at halftime. You know, we said the difference in this game would be a mistake from us or producing quality in the final third. And 90 seconds later, my guys made me look good by producing that bit of quality. And Aaron popped up with a header with a Craig. So that was really pleasing. And then we also talked about being ruthless. And again, Guesty got put through, committed the defender and the penalty, and it was never in doubt, really. So, you know, kind of what we talked about at halftime came to fruition, which was nice, but also to kind of go 1-0 up, but give it away and then have the fight to go back and take the lead again was also pleasing.
And at the same time, it's another rivalry game. For someone who hasn't seen Storm and Revs, how would you break it down?
There's a history there for sure, and it's a good rivalry and one we thrive in. I think we enjoy going over there. It's a great facility, great pitch, and it's 2 teams trying to go about it the right way. And like I said, it's intense for 90 minutes. But again, once the final whistle goes, you know, we shake hands and we appreciate the quality that each other brings.
Now you've got another first-year club coming in. Charlottetown is coming in this Saturday, and I know that there's not much of a book out on them. What is studying for a new club? What is that like?
It's a test for sure. I mean, I think obviously this league, the way it's set up, people playing in different kind of venues makes it a challenge. I know the likes of ourselves and Apatheos playing on tight sort of football fields at high schools makes it difficult to kind of prepare ourselves for teams, because Charlotte obviously playing up at Ortho Carolina Field. It's a nice big field, so they've approached the games differently. But you just got to look for tendencies and look for certain individuals. But I'm sure they're in the same boat as the rest of us. It's another week that they've spent together, you know, getting better. I'm just looking forward to the challenge. It almost is a help at times being in the unknown, because you treat it more like a cup final because you have no idea what to expect.
Next up on the board, 865 Alliance, as promised, their 3-1 loss to Charlottetown at Ortho Carolina after their appearance in Week 1, knocking off the Revs in McDonough by the score of 2-1. Here is head coach Michael Meyer on what's going on at 865. Biggest lesson from last week that you've pulled now that you've had a couple of days to kind of sort through it and get you ready for match week 3? What do you think it was?
Good question. I think, you know, us staying more compact because we are looking to attack up the channels with our outside backs, and we got exposed by David Hibbert, which is number 14 from Charlotte. He did a really good job. We couldn't scout against him because he was new. They have another one named Gabriela Lopez. He did a good job. He was the other winger on the other side. So they were pretty explosive, and we just needed to be a little bit more conservative because if we were probed too far up the field, they got in behind. And in the first half, they did a good job of that. I think we settled down the last 20 minutes and created an opportunity at the end, which is good, got us back in the match. And then as we rolled into the second half, we adjusted a little bit, changed our formation into a 4-3-3. And I think we did a little bit better that first 20 minutes, created some chances. But the key is that final pass, which we lacked, that we need to polish up on and what we worked on this week. Now, this upcoming opponent is a lot different. Apothos might be the most athletic team I've seen up to this point. So we're going to have our hands full with that group.
At the same time, I mean, in match one, Rodrigo got you the brace to get you the 2-1 win over Revs. You lose on the road once again. You mentioned the loss to Charlottetown 3-1. You mentioned Apotheos as well. But this one for you is at Hardin Valley. What has the anticipation level been like for everybody that's close to 865 as this match is coming up this weekend?
Oh, Knoxville is extremely excited. The community's definitely backing us. We have a pep rally tonight at Orange Hat Brewery, which is kind of exciting. It's one of our sponsors. So we'll be doing a meet and greet within the community, and the players will be signing autographs and just giving back, and then getting the whole community in that environment right around Hardin Valley to be psyched for the match on Saturday evening. So a lot of good things, are happening in Knoxville. It's blowing up in a good way, and the town is obviously growing. And it's a good time. So I'm excited to meet the challenge, and it will be a tough challenge.
You mentioned that tough challenge. I mean, how much scouting early in the season, A, can you do, and B, how much can you take from it, considering what you mentioned with the game against Charlottetown, where there are folks that are there that you may not have book on, and that's the way it's going to be early in the season as folks are assembling what may end up being their final roster, say, by match week 4 or so.
This week is now the third week. Everyone has pretty much a significant amount of tape on people. So we've watched Apophis play 3 times. So they have a good core group. From now watching them this past week against App FC, which was a good match. I don't think the score represented the match itself, but at that same time, Apophis is if you fall asleep or switch off, they'll make you pay. They're all 3 forwards they're balanced. Back line's extremely athletic. They like to attack out of the back to create numbers up. Midfield's good. Forwards are a handful. 22, which is Suma. We really got to be aware of him because he's pretty much, I think, scored in every match. So it's it'll be a good challenge. It'll really test us and see where we're at. But it'll be an exciting challenge, and we just have to have good discipline, make sure our lines are staying very compact, and then when we have the ball, take advantage of our opportunities.
I was going to say that what I like to do in these situations is almost treat it like if the game is on television and you and I are up in the booth, and we go through the open, you get to see the wide shot of the stadium and everything, and then you go into keys to the game, and that little tombstone pops up in the low part of the screen. As folks would be watching this on television all across this planet, and they see you walking up and down the touchline with that tombstone of keys to the match. You've mentioned a couple. What are the keys in your mind for success against one of the more experienced sides, not just in this conference, but I think pretty much in all of the NPSL this year?
3 keys. I'm sorry.
You mentioned discipline.
Yeah. I mean, keeping our discipline in each block, the defensive third, the midfield, and the forwards, and making sure we're extremely getting behind the ball and we're not chasing, not over probing, and being very selective of when we express ourselves. When we have the ball, we have to have good ball retention and keep it, which we will. But the biggest thing is just when we have those opportunities in the offensive third is to execute both on set pieces as well as in the run of play. And if we do those things, but the number one thing is, like I said in the beginning, it's just discipline, and being patient. The best teams in the world, the best defenders in the world are patient, and we're going to have that mindset.
Next up, App FC. We mentioned that App FC and the Storm are the only two teams of the 6 that have not won a match in the first 2 match weeks. We caught up with head coach Dale Parker as they get ready for their matchup this week, and right now with a record of 0-1-1. What have you learned about yourself in the last 2 match weeks that you can take forward to match week 3?
Learned a lot, obviously. Two strange games, 2 decent performances from us, but 2 results that we weren't expecting. Obviously, game 1, always traveling away. Game 1's difficult. I thought Georgia Storm were extremely prepared. They've got a much better team this year, and I expect them to do well. And then, as we discussed last week, Apotheos are a completely different animal this year. Arguably, in my opinion, the best team I've ever played at this level, both as a player and as a coach. Fantastic team across the board. There isn't one weak link in that team, and I think all of us are going to be doing our best just to keep hold of them throughout the course of the season. But I think overall, the 2 performances we've had have been decent, lacking a little bit of a cutting edge in front of goal. But these are the problems, these are the kinks that you've got to work out in week 1 and week 2, and hopefully by week 3, week 4, you have a settled 11 to 18 players that you can rely on for the rest of the season.
And, when it comes to Apotheos, I know a lot of folks have looked at them, and they are entirely different. They had 4 different goal scorers in the match against you guys last weekend. Just how good are they out of the blocks right now?
They're fantastic. I mean, they're just a unique team to play at this level. Very much operate. I mean, the players are at a professional level. I mean, we were just fresh off the US Open Cup where we played Charlotte Independence, and I think individually Apotheos probably had better players. That's how good they are. Very, very press resistant, difficult to get the ball away from, and then any mistake you make, they're going to punish you. You only have to look at the first goal we concede. Within 3 seconds, the ball's in the back of the net, and we only just given the ball away. Just shows you how good they are individually. I think the challenge for everybody else is whenever you play them, can you limit them to the minimum amount of chances, and then take yours when you get them, and obviously take care of the rest of the games that you've got, and hope that that's going to be enough. But they're a special team, and they're going to know the pressure's on them now to stay at the top. Kind of takes the pressure off us a little bit because we had the target on our back to the beginning. Now we can pass it off sooner than we wanted. But we can focus on ourselves now and really challenge ourselves. 1, get into the playoff spots, and 2, get as high up the league table as we can.
So what was the week like for you getting ready for Storm to where you could focus on yourself? What was the message this week, and how was it applied getting ready for this match at home?
We have to quickly move on from Saturday. That's first and foremost, because it's very easy to get stuck up on a defeat when you lose by 3 goals. We've had a lot of context to that game. We've gone over some film and really showed the boys some of the good things that we did. And if we eliminate just a small number of bad things, we're going to be in a good position. I think the scheduling has been a bit tricky. Obviously, playing Storm 2 times in 3 weeks, that makes things more difficult. You don't get any time to kind of adjust, change things, because we're spending all of our time thinking about the last time we played them, which was less than 2 weeks ago. So we've learned a lot from that game, but so will they have. They'll have seen the same film. They'll have developed and learned their lessons from that game. So it makes it challenging for both of us. I think ideally we'd have both preferred to play somebody else in week 3. I think with the 2 teams left that haven't won yet. So there's a lot of pressure on both teams. I wouldn't say it's a must-win game, but it's definitely you can't really afford to lose it this early in the season. So it'll be an interesting game. I'd imagine there's going to be goals. So if there's anyone looking for a game to pick to watch this weekend, this might be the one. But I think it's going to be an interesting game. 2 teams who are going to come out swinging because both teams really need to win.
All right. So you mentioned if this game was on television, you and I are in the TV booth. We're calling your match. Game starts. You get the big, you get the pretty picture of everything going on at Ted Mackerel. 2 teams, you get the title card. You and I are in the booth. As my color guy, you are always given the task of the keys to the match. If you are looking at a picture of you on the touchline, walking back and forth or doing warm-ups with the guys, and you're looking for the keys to the match for App FC for the second time in 3 weeks playing Storm, what are your keys for Dale Parker and Appalachian FC?
I think number one, we've got to start well. Number one, we must start well because you're playing at home in front of an excited crowd. We need to bounce back after last week. It's got to be high energy, high tempo from the get-go. Got to play on the front foot, and that's going to be the message on Saturday. I think we need to go back to basics in a lot of the things that we do. We've tried to evolve and develop our game over the last couple of years, but I think what really made us good over the last 2 years are the really basic things. Being a very difficult team to play against in terms of being pressing high up the field, using the home environment to our advantage. And getting the ball into dangerous areas where our dangerous players can do business. We've got some fantastic attacking players. Get them on the ball. I think they're going to be the 3 keys for us on Saturday. If we do those things, we're going to score goals. Then it's just a case of making sure we don't make any silly errors at the other end. Us, we're not known for keeping clean sheets. Hopefully, we'll get one on Saturday.
Then, as promised, big weekend for Charlottetown Hops. Had their first ever home opener in team history. So we caught up with co-founder Casey Carr to get the lay of the land and what it's been like to build this and have that next first ever as they did last week. So Casey, looking back now at the first time ever, we know that there are a lot of first times for everything, but what was it like for the crowd to be there at CSA at Ortho Carolina and you come away with a 3-1 win?
Yeah, I mean, when you look back at the retrospect, right, which is always fun to be able to look back, right? The actual games are stressful, but when you look back at it, I don't know that we could have had a better start. An exciting game. The style of play that we had was amazing. Our crowd, 700 plus people at the first game, right? Enjoying all the local breweries. We had great selection of beer. There's some amazing photos. The atmosphere was awesome, right? And you have all the bumps and bruises that you're always going to have in a first day. I know everything that went wrong, but fortunately, I don't think anybody else does. So that's great, right? That's the joy and the hard part about the roles that I play on game days. But yeah, honestly, great result. The boys look great. The people that rolled their sleeves up and helped us get it set off was awesome. So top notch all around.
Has it sunk in that you and Matt and everybody else that's associated with bringing this project off the ground has gotten it to this point to where you've had that first ever home match? You're in that first ever season. You got your first ever match out of the way. It was a roadie. You come back, match week 2, first ever home match. Have all of these markers sunk in that this is happening?
I mean, if I'm being honest, probably not, right? Hitch and I were talking the other day, and we keep laughing that we'll never forget now, because we did forget a few weeks ago that, we launched on Valentine's Day. And so when you look at this short window that we've done this, I think it's so much fun right now, but it is a sprint, right? And because we've got a really good team, I think, that was behind the ideas, and we've got really good people that have jumped on board already and partnered with us, and even just people that are rolling their sleeves up and volunteering. So I think they're coming so fast, these milestone events, that it'll take a few weeks before it all really starts to sink in. But so far, it's really fun to see and to look back. Even what's nice about that short window is you can look back a week ago and be like, wow, look what we've done. And oh my gosh, we have another one coming. Like, how can we improve it? And that constant flywheel effect, so to speak, of improving, learning, doing it again, right? So we'll get a little break here, eventually, to really be more retrospective. But right now it's that's amazing. All right, we got to move on to the next one. What did we learn? And let's keep going. But it's been really good. And eventually we'll take the time to enjoy it.
What's been the biggest lesson that you've learned so far about this whole thing?
That's a good question. Honestly, I think having the great people a part of it from the get-go is, just getting the right partners has been huge. I think in general, there's lessons that, like, for people just operationally, that, you learn and that you're reminded of. Maybe they're lessons that you knew and forgot, and then you learn again as you're going through this. being very organized from like run a show, so to speak, and this is what it's going to look like, I think are really important. But I think at the end of the day, the lesson that's been confirmed and probably the most important is that when you really lean into kind of the fundamentals that we believe here, like I literally just had this conversation with someone, but I think sports, music, and art connect people better than anything in the world. And when you lean really hard into that intersection and do things that impact your community and lean really hard into, like, does this matter? How can I help the people in my community? They come out, right? We had 700 people at a game and we launched 90 days ago. It doesn't happen if we're not really putting that at the forefront. And how do we create an environment for the players, for the people that are helping us, how to create opportunity? But ultimately that's because we believe in the power of our community and using those things. So I think that's the biggest lesson, but it's also like one that I believed in that's just been reinforced. So that's been pretty important to me.
So when you still have lessons to learn, who's on speed dial for you when you sit there and it's like, ish, I got a question, you know, who's on speed dial for you on short notice?
So obviously Hitch and I talk a lot, right? We were on speed dial for that to begin with. And a lot of it's family bouncing ideas off of people that I've worked with for years. There's some really good guys in the industry across the country and people that I reach out to in Europe. And, you know, unfortunately, probably one of the people that I would have had on speed dial was my mom, and she passed away last summer. And so actually that's been one of the hardest part of this process is there's times when that's who I would have picked up the phone and called about it, and I can't. So you hit an emotional question without even knowing it was an emotional. So well done on that one.
Well, but I mean, I would imagine that she is watching all of this happen. I mean, just because she's not on speed dial doesn't mean that she's not paying attention.
Yeah, no, exactly. Even so lessons that we use in the first games, like having a run a show, honestly, like I don't know how people can do an event without one. And those things are super important, right? Those are speed dial moments. So people that are connected to, whether it's on marketing, whether it's in sponsorship, whether it's execution on the player side, whether it's videos, like there's a different group of people on all those, but having that behind it is super important, right? So there's a laundry list of speed dial. It just depends on which topic we're talking about. Right?
So then what topic are you dialing Europe for?
Honestly, I think bouncing ideas off of even things that work on game days, player side of things. I think every day there's a conversation across the board with somebody different. So good friends that just bounce ideas and they'll say something like, I can't believe I never thought about that. And it may have nothing to do with what you're, that conversation, but it's fun. And we've got players. If you look at our roster, we've got players from all over the globe, right? So sometimes it's also just connecting them on something they want to do in the future, right? Like one of our guys has done his like master's in his schooling on kind of physicalness with soccer, and he did a report on how turf impacts like groin injuries for soccer players, right? Well, I've got some friends in Europe that have done that, but from hamstrings and different pieces like that. So if we're doing our job, we're always connecting these people and building this community and doing stuff. So that's the coolest part about this level in general, right? It's all about connecting and building community.
And now you've got another road trip. It's away, home, away, and now you get to go to McDonough, Georgia, south of the perimeter. You've got a match coming up against the Georgia Revs. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I think in just seeing how we respond on the field, off the field after a really good start, right? It's easy to get caught up, but the games come fast, they come furious, and traveling's a different animal. Traveling's a different animal at these levels and working through it and dealing with little injuries here and there as things go, right? So seeing how we respond and continue to grow. We've had a really good start. It's been enjoyable to watch. And so to me, the most fun part is just seeing that continued growth and see where we go. You're going to have bumps and bruises, right? But keep it going.
3 matchups this week. They are all on Saturday, all at 7 o'clock. Hardin Valley Academy, as we mentioned with Coach Meyer, big day in the history of 865 Alliance. They get to host Apotheos FC. App FC at Ted Mackerel gets the visiting Georgia Storm. These two teams know a lot about each other. Once again, second time they played in 3 match weeks. They'll be done with each other after Saturday night. Georgia Revs in McDonough and McDonough High School Stadium get to be host to the visiting Charlottetown Hops, so we'll see what happens there. It's Revs and Hops. It is App FC and Storm, 865 Alliance, and Apotheos If you are near Hardin Valley Academy, Ted Mackerel Soccer Complex, or the McDonough High School Stadium, go and visit on Saturday night at 7 o'clock and catch up with the action here in the NPSL Southeast. If you cannot, follow along through social media and the links to the providers for your video and your audio sessions when it comes to these clubs here in the NPSL Southeast. If you're out of market and still can't make it, follow along on social media. We'll recap it again next week. So for everybody here at SDH, that is life in the NPSL Southeast Conference. Play it safe, everybody. Enjoy your games.